Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Friday the 28th of February 2020, and yesterday evening we published a video entitled Gold and Silver Prices Diverge Further. Why? Where we highlighted why we should expect a further divergence in the price of gold and silver. This was a bold statement to make, as the gold to silver ratio actually rose to 92.7 yesterday. And yet we still warned of a further increase. Well, today we have seen and witnessed the absolute smashing down of gold and silver prices, which we shall cover more in a moment. But with gold at $1,575 and silver at $16.47, we can see that the gold to silver ratio has risen to an amazing 95.6. Who, apart from us, even hinted that there could be such a possibility? And this is the difference of listening to a channel that is not offering you clickbait to gain hits or attempting to persuade you to buy precious metals so that we could make a profit from you. That independence is so important. Now, today, let's take a brief look at what has happened with gold and silver, with the price of gold having already fallen by some $69 in the last 24 hours, some 4.2%, and the price of silver having fallen $1.28, or some 7.2% in the last 24 hours, pushing their prices well below their openings at the start of the week. Now, we will provide more details in our weekly update, which will be published tomorrow, and by which time we will have gained additional information as to what has happened. But it certainly appears at the moment that it's not as if the US dollar has strengthened today, because it hasn't. It's been more or less quite firm and steady. Nor that the equity markets have rebounded, because they too are down again, as we suggested they would be. Economic data is mixed versus expectations, and US yields have actually fallen further. At this moment, the suggestion is considerable profit-taking, but also the potential belief that these markets have actually outpaced themselves, with traders feeling that gold and silver prices have risen too far too quickly. We should also note, of course, that personal income and consumption expenditures also rose, and ironically and paradoxically, to gold's movement, it suggested that the Fed may actually cut rates on the 18th of March, even though the Fed has previously stated there would be no interest rate cuts this year. Now remember, we have predicted that there would be one cut, but even we, quite frankly, did not expect it to be this soon. It is, quite frankly, too early to tell what has happened today. And of course, the usual suspects will claim manipulation. Though to be fair, we do not really see why the US government would want gold prices slashed at the moment, because although its rise has been moderately substantial, it's not risen to such an extent it would be worrying. But it is a possibility, so we cannot rule it out entirely. Now, the fall in silver price does not surprise us quite as much. We've stated time and time again that gold is the better buy for the moment, and silver, which has risen, was certainly due for profit-taking, especially as its industrial demand could be quite seriously affected if there is a major economic decline. We will admit that we did state earlier in the week that whilst we thought gold could reach up to around maybe close to $1,720, or slightly less than that, it would then fall back. And silver, if it did go above $1,700 gold, silver would then touch $19 and then fall back. And it looks like both of these came close to those figures, but not quite reaching them, and have fallen back in one go, in one day, rather than over the period of around a week, which is what we would have expected and anticipated. So things are happening faster, but more or less in accordance with our forecasts. Now, where these prices go from here is actually a little difficult to predict, until we have a better handle as to why they fell today in the first place by such a large amount. Now, hopefully we will have gained more information by tomorrow. So we may publish our gold and silver weekly update a little later in the day than we do usually. Now, what we will say is that at these prices, for those who are short of gold and silver stock, this next week could be a great buying opportunity. But please be mindful of three things. What goes up can also come down, and very often does. Do not always expect markets to behave rationally or in accordance to what logic dictates. And three, it's not necessarily always manipulation, but occasionally it can be that dictates price. Now, please also remember what we stated in yesterday's video well before this decline even begun, and we'll quote it just in case you don't have time to listen to it, or just as a reminder if you have listened to that video. The fear factor drives international monies into safe haven assets. These have often been bonds, the US dollar, and gold. For most large serious investors, silver does not come into that equation, certainly not in the first instance. Followers of this channel will also know that taking numerous decades into account, gold has always performed better than silver on average and on more occasions, as a protection against inflation and currency devaluation. And we produced numerous videos on this very issue last year. Now, that is not to say silver will be permanently neglected, but it will be in large part initially. Also, if the main reason for investment monies going into safe haven assets is because of the fear factor and or belief that world trade is going to suffer, as we are currently experiencing, with almost 60% of silver's demand being for industrial purposes, then the demand for silver in this arena is going to fall, and thereby adversely affect its price. This is simply common sense, and one does not need to be an economist to work that one out. Let us be clear here, we're not saying you should avoid investing in silver. We're certainly not saying you should sell the silver you already hold. What we are saying is that we believe this gap between gold and silver has further to widen and eventually will peak, and then silver will be the commodity to buy, even if it then means selling your gold to do it." Unquote. Now, that's what we stated yesterday. Both gold and silver took a hit today, but silver took the largest one, even though its rise prior to the hit was nowhere near as great as gold's rise has been. Now, it is possible that these markets today have overdone the bloodletting. There again, perhaps it hasn't. Now, we'll have to wait and see. But if there is one lesson to be learned from what has happened today, and one that we have frequently quoted, and we're not trying to be clever when we say this, but whatever the pumpers tell you is going to happen imminently, expect the opposite. Long term, they may very well be right. But once they start coming out in force, as they have done over the past few weeks, basically telling you we are now on the verge of this $10,000 gold and $100 silver or more, you really have to take that with a pinch of salt and try and understand why it is that they're coming out with this. Now, we have said we expected gold and silver to rise, and it rose. To be fair, we're still of the opinion that rise hasn't finished, because there is much more information to be gleaned as to the ultimate effect of the coronavirus. But until that is better known, then we can expect these fallback in prices and a possible rise further down the road. Though now we are noticing that a number of technical analysts who were telling us how these prices were not going to the moon but were going to rise substantially are now reassessing their forecasts. Let's see what we can glean additionally by tomorrow. But meanwhile, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. and press the bell sign so that you're notified of our videos as and when they are published. Also tomorrow we will be publishing on the Richard and Greg channel an update as to where we are on the global scene. So until then, thank you once again. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer: Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.